Imagine here for a moment that John Deere calls your state attorney general's office and that they believe that you have CAD files, like parts diagrams or repair schematics for equipment that you actually own. Now, it's something that you've downloaded from an internet forum so that you could fix your own machine or your own equipment without paying to go through a dealer. They want the state to do something about it, so the state shows up. And now those files that are actually on your hard drive, they're now the crime. Or think about Disney makes that call instead. Character models, scene renders, IP that you downloaded from a fan site and even forgot about. Now, right now, Washington doesn't have a clean mechanism for either of those type of phone calls. But with this newly signed law, they just built that. And before you decide that this doesn't affect you, that this is just a story about one state, this is already spreading, and it's bigger than most people realize. Now, on March 24th of this year, Governor Ferguson in Washington state signed a bill into law that made it illegal to possess a digital file, with the intent to do something that the state has decided you shouldn't do. The bill was sold as a response to ghost guns, and for about 10 minutes, it kind of sounds like it is, but the architecture underneath of it doesn't care what kind of file we're actually talking about. The law says it's illegal in Washington to possess digital manufacturing code with intent to produce something prohibited, or with the intent to distribute that code to someone that the state hasn't approved. The crime, it isn't making anything. The crime is possessing a file while intending to do something with it. Now, that's not how file possession has worked in this country. And the fact that they aimed it at a politically unpopular target first doesn't mean it stays pointed there. Before this passed, there was a clause in the original version of the bill that said the mere possession of the code would presume criminal intent. You'd have to prove you are innocent in court. Now, they pulled that clause, it was called rebuttable presumption, because they knew it wouldn't survive a constitutional challenge. Because it inverts the burden of proof. You're not innocent until proven guilty, you're guilty until you explain yourself. Now, in 1995, a mathematician named Daniel Bernstein wanted to publish his encryption software, source code, and academic paper. The federal government classified this information, his code, as a munition. Now, they told him that he'd need to register as an arms dealer to share his own work. Now, he sued, and of course, the Ninth Circuit Court, they ended up ruling in his favor. Bernstein v. Department of Justice, the case that established as a matter of constitutional law that code is actually free speech. Not metaphorically, but constitutionally. The court found that there's no meaningful difference between computer language and any other language. Now, like music, like mathematics, the government cannot just impose a prior restraint on its publication. That is settled law. Washington just passed a law premised on the opposite. Now, the legal framework that Washington built is really this. If the state can define a category of file, attach a prohibited intent to it, and then criminalize its possession, they have a tool that really works on anything. Copyright enforcement, trade secrets, even medical records, and even source code for software that competes with a state contractor. Think about this for a moment. What about files that are related to a lawsuit that the government is involved in? This rabbit hole can get quite deep. Now, the bill targets firearm manufacturing code specifically. That's the stated purpose. That's the thing that it was sold as. But the mechanism doesn't require a firearm to function. It requires just a file, a prohibited intent, and a prosecutor that's willing to make that call. And there's really no forensic test for intent. There's no file header that says, I was going to use this illegally. Intent is what a prosecutor really decides what it is in front of a jury. And they've already found the file on your drive. And remember, that law doesn't just cover manufacturing. It covers distribution. So what happens when you loan your laptop to someone? What happens when you sell an old PC without wiping the drive? What happens, for instance, me? I give away 3D printers all the time and they have a USB drive on them. And I didn't clear it. I forgot to erase it. Under this law, all of that is distribution. Now, the bill also contains the phrase or other means attached to the manufacturing prohibition with no definition, no real boundary. If you manufacture something prohibited by any method not already named, it's still covered. They wrote the expansion in before anyone even asked for it. Now let me go ahead and address something that I get in the comments quite a lot. These files don't have a victim. There are already categories of digital files that are illegal. And those files have real crimes attached to them, real people who were harmed. That distinction exists for a reason, and it's an important one. But a CAD file, a design, a model, that file is speech. It's expression. And in many cases, it's even just intellectual property. It's legally patented, assigned a number, filed with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. The federal government already houses a lot of these files. They review them. They publish them. The USPTO is, by definition, a distribution system for these technical drawings. So explain how a file that the federal government has reviewed, numbered, and made publicly available and has no victim is now a crime to possess in Washington state. In 2018, the DOJ settled a 3-year lawsuit with Defense Distributed over 3D printed firearm files that the government had forced off the internet under arms export law. They settled because their own lawyers knew they couldn't sustain it. The files went back online anyway. The government paid the plaintiffs' legal fees. They already lost this argument in federal court, but Washington doesn't care and they signed it into law anyway. Now, every state that comes after Washington now has this model, a passed law, and they're not alone. All of these laws got some state's governor's signature. That signature is something to point to when their own version gets challenged, something to cite when a court asks whether any government has ever done this before. But see, Washington did. March 24th, with an emergency clause making it effective immediately. Now, the EFF, they have been fighting this specific fight for a long time. The right to possess that technical information, the right to not be presumed criminal because of what's on your hard drive. It's been like 30 years now. Because the pattern, it's always the same. They aim it at something nobody wants to defend. Then, the framework now exists, and the framework gets used. And Washington, they're not alone in this. New Jersey signed the same framework into law on January 12th of this year. I think it's like A4975. And they criminalized possession of digital firearm manufacturing files with the intent to manufacture. In California, they did it in October of last year with AB 1263, and that went into effect January of this year. And right now, New York has it sitting inside the governor's executive budget bill, right? I think that's like S9005, which would make it a crime to sell, distribute, and possess digital instructions for manufacturing a firearm without a license. The framework is being placed in all of these states across our country, and I promise you, it's not going to be limited to the ghost guns. And now that this exists, you can bet that corporations will take advantage of these new laws. Now, to stay in New York just for a moment, that same budget bill also proposes requiring 3D printers sold in New York to have that blocking software. And we've kind of covered that in previous videos. It basically says that a firearms blueprint detection algorithm must be included on every 3D printer sold to scan every file before it prints and stop anything that it flags. 3 states, think about that. 3 states already have this law and others are in motion. This isn't one state just experimenting. This is a pattern with momentum, and every state that signs it gives the next one more cover to do the same. Now, I know what the comments are going to say. This won't stand. It'll get overturned. Well, maybe, but here's how that actually works. Someone has to get charged first. Then they have to fight it through trial court, then appeals. The average time from a law being passed to a Supreme Court ruling is somewhere between like 10 and 15 years. And that's if the court even takes it at all. Most cases never even get there. And the whole clock doesn't even start until someone gets hurt badly enough to spend that kind of money and that kind of time fighting back. In the meantime, the law's in effect. Prosecutors can still use it. Charges can be filed and people can be sitting in state prison. And of course, there will be plea deals that get taken by people who can't afford to fight. So the idea of it'll get overturned is not a protection. It's just a hope, and hopes don't keep charges off of your record. Now, I don't know what files are going to come for next. We can only really guess, and maybe it stays narrow, but also maybe it doesn't. The bill already contains the phrase, or other means, with no definition attached to it. What I do know is that Washington state just signed into law the idea that possessing a file with an intent that the state disapproves of is a crime, without you having built anything, without any harm having occurred, because of what they think you were going to do with it. That's not where file law has been in this country. But it is now.